is the Rugby Muscle Podcast, talking all that you need to become the best rugby player you can be. Now here are the Rugby Muscle coaches, TJ and Alex.
Yes, this is the Rugby Muscle Podcast. You are listening to the correct station/podcast in your browser. Welcome, boys and girls. It's TJ here from the Rugby Muscle Podcast. And guess who's with me? Yep, you're correct. It's Alex. What's going on, mate?
You didn't really give them time to think.
No, but they knew. They knew. How's things? Ooh, he's gone. Why is your connection always really bad right at the start of a podcast, but then it gets better as soon as we get into it?
Because I'm only interested in the cool stuff.
No, I'll tell you why. It's because you're fanning around doing other internet-based things as we're starting the podcast, and then as we get into it, you sort of put those things to the side and actually start to concentrate more on the podcast itself.
Yeah, you keep asking me questions, mate. That's why.
That's my theory. Anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of asking you questions and you giving us information,
it's time for the facts of the week.
Alex, what's your fact of the week?
It's not about sharks, that's for sure.
Good, because actually we're gonna break the wall. Is it breaking the fourth wall? If I just say that Alex wanted to give the fact that sharks have outlived or are older than dinosaurs, or they're around before dinosaurs, and I thought that was common knowledge, so I didn't allow that fact.
Yeah, well, you kind of dropped me in it. I wasn't expecting to have to do two facts today. Okay.
What are you talking about? Oh, right, the dinosaurs.
You know,
this fact.
Yeah, the dinosaur shark one, which is awesome. But anyway, so you know, there's two sexes, right? Male and female.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm well aware.
Yeah, you're aware of that, right?
Although, if you're into the recent news, then there's a lot of trouble about like the in between. But
well, that's gender. That's not sex. That's the difference.
Oh. Anyway.
So sex is biological, and gender is, I guess, a mix of sociological and psychological.
Okay.
And really complicated.
Don't worry, let's not get into that.
Okay.
Because fake news is going to come in and it's going to ruin our podcast.
You know there's two sexes.
I know there's two sexes.
And you heard people say about if you this might be a Guernsey thing. If you have sex lying north to south, you have a boy, and if you have etc. etc. Right? Have you heard about
this fact?
That's not a fact. That's not
saying.
a fact.
I've never heard the saying, but anyway.
Okay, well that's the thing apparently in Guernsey. Anyway, so in actual fact,
do you mean like north to south, as in like your head is north, or do you mean missionary /
No, I'm talking like a sexy compass.
Okay.
Yeah, like a sexy compass, mate.
Yeah.
But if you look at crocodiles, the temperature of their nest actually determines the sex of their offspring. So there you go.
I thought it was going to be a fact about crocodiles shagging.
Well, I mean,
I'm not going to say I'm disappointed that it's not. I'm quite relieved, if I'm honest, that it's not. So
there was a guy in Florida who was arrested for trapping and having sex with an alligator recently.
Why of all animals, of all things to have sex with internet porn being rife?
I suspect it was a domination deal.
Weird. Anyway, don't try and explain it. It's weird, and we're not going to understand it, and we'll move on. But so, what, if there's a warm nest, it's a guy, because it's warm enough for his little to grow?
I think it might actually be the other way around, but I'm not sure.
So if it's warm, it's nice and coddled, so it ends up being a girl. Or if it's cold, you have to man up and get through it, and you literally become a man.
I think I read this a long time ago, so I can't remember.
I don't care.
Wow, that's an interesting fact.
I'll give you that one. It's better than a dinosaur fact. Anyway, after a huge, long deal there, discussing the fact of the week. Let's get into the podcast. Let's get into the most important thing in your training, and that is the principle of progressive overload.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's what makes everything work.
Yeah, it's the reason that we write programs rather than WODs. Come at me, CrossFit. It's the reason that we have to research so much in order to constantly improve athletes, improve athleticism, get bigger. It's the reason why people aren't walking around with six packs.
God damn it. Try so hard as well.
Well, it's one of the reasons why people aren't walking around with six packs. I wouldn't say it's the reason, but it's definitely the most important thing to get right when it comes to training. Because if you get this right and get a load of other things wrong, I still think you're in a better way or a better place than you would be if you just ignored the principle of progressive overload. Alex.
Yeah, 100%.
Explain to the lads what we mean by progressive overload.
Yeah, doing more stuff over time.
Mm-hmm. So progressively overloading. There we go. So
you know what I said about having bugbears before about spelling?
Yeah.
That's another one when people define something by
using
itself.
that same word.
It really fucks me. Yeah, really fucks me off.
Excellent. Yeah. But yeah, the principle of progressive overload states that you have to either increase the difficulty of an exercise in order to constantly adapt and constantly get better. So we're going to go through a number of ways that you can do that. But first, I just want to say that, as I say, I cannot overstate how important this is. And this is exactly why most people that go to the gym that don't have a logbook, that just make up what they do as they go and never look back to see if they're improving, pretty much don't improve. They go to the gym for 3 years and you wouldn't even tell. Like, they have the same body the whole time because they just go in, they just do a bunch of random shit. We don't know if it's better or worse than the last session, and you're just never going to improve that way. So it's really important that you listen and that you adhere to this rule.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Cannot be placed in a more important position than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you went to a gym and over the course of 10 years, I don't know, it's a different way. If you squat 400 pounds now, we assume you can, right? But then you got to the point where you can squat 400 pounds for 20 reps.
Yeah.
We would you are bigger and you're stronger. That's a reasonable assumption, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's progressively overloading it because you've gone from 1 rep to 20 reps, and that's how you got bigger and stronger. If you go into a gym and squat 400 pounds for 1 rep for 20 years, you're not going to be stronger. You're just going to be really good at squatting 400 pounds.
Yeah.
For 1 rep.
Oh dear, this connection isn't great, Alex. I'm telling you. We'll fix it whilst we're still recording. Let's talk about a number of different ways that we can progressively overload, because it's not as simple as increasing the reps every single week, because obviously we get plateaus, and if we didn't ever get plateaus, or if this was easy, you probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast, because you'd know it. You'd be making great progress and you'd be bossing it in the gym and you'd love it, and you wouldn't have to learn more, you wouldn't have to know more, because you can just keep getting better. Unfortunately, it's not the case. So we have to look at a number of different ways that we can make sure that we are progressing in our training week to week. But yes, number one is going to be by simply increasing the reps every single week. You can either, and that's not to say we did 3 sets of 8 last week, and we're going to use that same weight, and we're definitely going to do 3 sets of 10 the next week. We would probably do 3 sets of 8 one week, and then the next week we come back to it and we'll probably get 10, then 9, then 8. And overall, we've got 3 more reps. I wouldn't expect to get, unless you're a beginner or an early intermediate lifter, I wouldn't expect to progress that easily through reps. But at least one of the sets should be able to get more reps, and we can do that using AMRAP sets. You're quite a fan of AMRAP sets, right, Alex?
I am, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And that's a good way to do it. So you can do, and that's like I am a huge fan of doing this for your accessories. Is doing so you do 3 sets of accessory work. The first 2 sets are 2 sets of 10, a weight that you can probably get for 12 to 15 reps. And then your last set every single time is going to be an AMRAP set. So as many reps as you can do, either without hitting failure or without even getting close to failure. So you know, grinding reps or whatever your RPE is for that week. And then week by week, you just get a few more reps in that AMRAP set until you can get, say, 20 reps. Then you increase the weight. That's a good way of doing it.
Define RPE for us, mate.
Rate of perceived exertion. Basically, how many, in terms of when we're lifting weights, it's how many reps you've got in the tank at the end of your set. So we're not fans of constantly pushing yourself to failure. We're fans of leaving, like, say, so if we're doing an RPE 8, I could probably have got 2 or 3 more reps. If I'm doing RPE 9, I could have maybe got 1 more rep. If it's an RPE 10, so it's 1 to 10. If it's an RPE 10, that's the maximum weight I could do. I could not possibly lift another rep.
Yeah. Do you know where the RPE scale came from?
It was also, weirdly, it's changed since we've been to university, because when we were at university, it was 6 to 20. Like, number 1 would be 6, and number 10 would be 20. I don't know why I did that, but...
I'll tell you why now, then, mate.
Go on, then.
So, what the 110 RPE scale is what's called a modified Borg scale.
Yeah. I know the Borg scale is...
Yeah, well, the Borg scale was at 1 to 20.
Yeah.
Right? But the lower end of the Borg scale was like a sleeping kind of deal.
Oh yeah, so like 1 would basically be dead.
Yeah,
you'd be comatose.
So because the Borg scale and the rate of perceived exertion was originally done for military purposes in World War One.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, look up Shredded by Science's emoji RPE scale. Shout out to them. I'm actually going to repost it. I'll put it up on my Instagram. So don't worry about Shredded by Science. Worry about tj.strength on Instagram. Yeah. So increasing reps either through AMRAP or through just programming, increasing reps. And know that if you're training a new program or a new cycle of 4 to 12 weeks, know that this means that in order to constantly increase reps, week 1, and this goes for all of it, I guess, but week 1 is never going to be your hardest week. It should be fairly easy, and then you ramp up as time goes by. So yeah, increase reps, number 1. What else, Alex, can we progressively overload?
Well, the kind of counterpoint to that would be to increase the sets.
Yep.
So we're still doing more total reps, and potentially the better increase in strength from this, because you're getting more rest, you can put more exertion into each set. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But the other side is it's going to take you that much longer in the gym.
Yeah. So say week 1 you did 3 sets of 8. I'm just gonna keep going with this 3 sets of 8, and then each week for 6 weeks you added an extra set. What's that? By week 6 you're doing 9 sets of 8, and that's
a lot.
That's ends up being a lot. Yeah, especially if you're increasing other exercises the same way. It's definitely something to bear in mind. It's a real good thing as well, because simply increasing a set may not be like going from 8 reps to 12 reps with the same weight in a week is a lot harder than just adding a set in. Adding a set is quite an easy way of doing it if we're taking out the fact that it takes a lot longer. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I would say there is a good hypothesis out there about or a theory out there that, say, set 1 dictates you about 60% to 70% of your results, right? This is purely for a hypertrophy point of view. It doesn't really apply as much to strength at all. But yeah, 60 to 70% is set 1. Set 2 will then get you 70 to 80. Set 3, 80 to 90 to maybe even 95. This is all like vague descriptions as well. It's nothing set in stone with this at all. And then set 4 is only going to give you an extra few percentages. Set 5 and only a little bit of an extra. So it's not quite the same as, adding in all of those reps, because you're fresh for the start. So say if you're doing a set of 8, you're still going to be fresh and perform those first 4 to 5, 6 reps relatively easily, and then you're only going to start to feel fatigued towards the end of each set.
But here's the issue with that then. Or not the issue, or potentially something else to think about. If the goal isn't just hypertrophy, if the goal is, say, power, and we're looking at increasing the speed on the bar, it's going to be a more efficient way to do it.
Yeah,
or if
you wouldn't increase reps. If you're looking at speed, just going from 2 sets of as highest jumps, or sets of 2, say we do 3 sets of 2 squat jumps, to sets of 5 with the same weight, those 3rd, 4th, 5th reps aren't going to be as fast as the first 2, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're not getting the same power response you're looking for. Yeah.
So different goals need different ways of increasing. We're already getting into the advanced stuff. Different goals have different ways of progressively overloading them. It's not just if you're bodybuilding and you're just looking for hypertrophy. Yeah, it's as simple as sets, reps, or weight, and there's a bunch of other things that we can get into for other goals. Quickly then, whilst we're keeping the simple stuff, let's talk about increasing the weight. Alex, how do we do that?
Usually we're putting more weight on the bar. So ideally you'll do it over time. So we're not saying you're going to put 2.5 kilos on the bar every week. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? It might be that we increase the load 2.5 kilos every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Essentially, don't rush it. No one's in a rush.
The biggest mistake people do is rushing, trying to increase their reps or increasing their weight before they're ready, because then no doubt you end up pushing the RPE a lot harder if you're faster than it needs to be, if you're constantly trying to add the weight in, and eventually you'll burn yourself out quicker. A better way is to increase the sets and reps until you've got a good load there, and then increase the weight and drop the reps back down to what they were before.
Yes, yeah. So I actually have people use their AMRAP sets to dictate the speed at weight increases.
Yeah, me too.
So if they hit a certain number,
that's what I said in the first one, right?
Yeah.
I said in that first example. Yeah, sure. And also, then when we're looking at increasing weight, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to stick with the same amount of sets and reps, right? Mm-hmm. You see this a lot with, especially when it comes to increasing strength. You might want to increase the weight but decrease the reps as the weeks go by.
I've got something to point out on this.
Where you can do that? Yeah, go
on. For some weird reason, coaches and just guys who go to the gym seem set on doing like 1 rep, 2 reps, 3 reps, 5 reps, 8 reps, 10 reps. Right? Mm-hmm. There's no reason you can't do a 4 reps. You can't do 6 or 7 or 9 reps,
Yeah. I love 4 reps.
Yeah, 4s are good. I mean, I've used 7s and 9s quite a lot as when we're transitioning between higher reps and lower reps, because why would you want to drop 2 reps? Maybe 7 or... So say I've had some guys... In fact, a lot of my guys on the hypertrophy leading up to September strongman competitions at the moment. Mm-hmm. And building up to those higher reps, like, okay, well, last week you did 6, this week I want you to do 7. I don't go, last week you did 6, this week I want you to do 8.
Yeah.
That 2 extra reps is when you're at an RPE of 1.
Yeah, I'm with you. Why do we always go with these milestone numbers?